Welcome to Relationships on Reddit. In this series, we look at posts on Reddit. We'll check out some of the responses. I'll provide some coaching questions for exploration, as I would for a client who is in the situation. Then finally, I'll provide my commentary at the end of just being myself, unfiltered and unadulterated. Hi, I'm Janelle, the relationship coach behind The Successful Invisible. Check out my links below if you're interested in working with me for group coaching or one-on-one coaching. The goal of exploring these posts is to have you become more discerning, intentional, and successful in your dating and relationships. Whew, okay, so let's get into this Reddit post. You all, especially my ladies out there who are listening, are going to feel just as frustrated after hearing this story as I did and as the woman portrayed in the picture, because it is ridiculousness. So let's go. It happened again. I, 53 female, had a nice conversation. He said he was sapiosexual and liked my way of writing, liked the complexity in my observations and topics. So I Googled it. Sapiosexual is when someone has finding intelligence sexually attractive or arousing. So basically, you like smart people. Back to our story. Then he proceeded to talk about sex on first date. I told him I never do that and explained why. Because I am serious, because of biology, because some more. Suddenly, I was overthinking and should learn to give in, to follow my instincts, to live in the now. I explained some more without going into much depth. He now stated that he only had sex with women he could see a future with. So he knows on first date. Really? I asked why he couldn't wait then. No answer, just an invitation for a date next week. So, do you really have sex on the first date? All of you? Really? Am I just a clingy old woman being overly serious? Are you women in no pain after being ghosted after first date sex? So tired of old, tired, angry, tired, sad. Maybe I should just plan for sex on the first date. Just making it a part of it all. See it all of them will really ghost me then. Have you ever done it this way? There are advantages, and I have had this conversation 1,000 times. The advantage is that after, you do not have to consider when and if he just was in it for the hunting part. Have any of you practiced this to get away from this topic? On to the comments on this post. Replacement Ordinary 4 says, aside from the sex talk, which others have addressed, I steer clear of the idiots that have sapiosexual in their profiles. Most of them use it wrong. What they mean is sapiophile, and they just put it in to seem enlightened and intelligent when the vast majority of time they're not. GRB Dad says, LOL, no. I'm not normally one to say block and delete, but block and delete. Dude claims to be sapiosexual, then proceeds to inform you that you will be a hookup, pass. Sex can happen on a first date if everyone is feeling it, but you clearly aren't and don't want it, and therefore it is a solid no. There's nothing wrong with however you want to proceed. I'll give a more charitable assessment than my first paragraph and just say that the two of you are obviously not compatible. Then to that, there was a response from WishBear19 that said, all this. OP, respect yourself. Good Lord, sex on the first date is fine if all parties are in agreement. This douchebag hasn't even met you and is pressuring you for sex? He's a creep. And here you are second guessing yourself. Block him and don't look back. HR 11756 says, sex is never mandatory. You have sex only when both people are comfortable. I learned when I was 20 that sex on a first date does not work for me. Doesn't mean it's wrong. It means it's wrong for me. We all have our own wants and comfort levels. but that does not give anyone the right to push the other person into doing anything they are not comfortable with. When I was doing old, I was not interested in any guy who brought up sex before even meetings. That could be OLD. I wanted someone compatible with me. Oh, old, sorry. Duh, online dating. Anyway, let me reread that. When I was doing online dating, I was not interested in any guy who brought up sex before even meeting. I wanted someone compatible with me, not someone I had to change. I also do not have room in my life for anyone who does not respect my boundaries. This applies to friends and family as well. Bayou Buff says he only has sex with women he sees a future with, but he knows on the first date he sees a future with them, so he has sex with them, but that future he envisioned with them never actually materialized because he is trying to have sex with you on the first date. So the things he envisioned with those other women were obviously incorrect, or else he'd still be with one of them. Run, ghost, block, all of the suggestions above as well. He is manipulative, bottom line. So Anonymous Woman Q says, he is being manipulative. Sex on the first date is never, ever mandatory. And anyone who has that expectation is super creepy. Then that got a response from Queen Rosie B. This is literally high school boys in the 80s stuff. Now, let's move on to some of my responses. First, as a coach, and then just as myself, unfiltered and unadulterated. The first thing that I speak with my clients when it comes to getting back into the dating scene is what exactly do they want? How do they define that? What are they looking for? These are very crucial things to consider and take into account. Being very clear on what you want, how you expect that to look. Caveat, side note, this isn't about the physical appearance per se of another person. This is about the type of relationship you are seeking to build and what are kind of the parameters that you have in place for yourself. What are your boundaries? What are your standards? What is your understanding of how a relationship is supposed to work? These are all questions that you need to consider when you are getting into the dating world, getting back into the dating world, maybe after a long hiatus. Say you've been married and now you're divorced, or whatever the situation is. You need to get very, very clear on what you want, how you intend to contribute to that vision you have of a relationship, and being very clear also on boundaries that you are going to have in place around meeting someone and engaging with this person for a romantic relationship. If you're not clear on where even to start that process, check out some of my earlier episodes of my podcast about setting boundaries, setting standards, and whether or not you are healed enough to date. Because let's be honest, if you're 35 plus out here in these dating streets, you've probably been through a few things. Not necessarily a lot, but you've likely had some very deep relationships with some people in your past. You've probably gone through some things emotionally just because you've lived life for this amount of time, and it is very important for you to be clear before you enter the dating arena. The second thing I really would like to bring to light is online dating. In this particular post, this woman was speaking of she met a man through online dating and how he was, asking for sex early on, etc. Online dating, I have found in my personal experience as well as with my clients, is not necessarily the best vehicle when you are getting back into dating after a hiatus of some type. Maybe you've just been out the game, like I said, you've been married, what have you, and you've been partnered, whatever the case may be. You may have just decided to be celibate for an extended period of time. It's not the best because online dating is a fairly new phenomena or trend. It's less than, really the popularity of it, I would say it's not even 30 years old. It's so many of us who are in the 35 plus range, we grew up observing relationships where people were meeting face to face. And oftentimes that's the best vehicle to start dating again, is going to mixers, going to occasions and events where you are likely to interact and find someone that has aligned with your interest. Now, you may need to do your research online, absolutely. But to get back into the dating game, I highly would suggest and advise clients to do that more in a face-to-face setting after they've done their own research and kind of found places that they are interested in going, as well as proximity is important. what who are the type of people, uh, thinking of maybe backgrounds and things like that that you're interested in. So for example, if you are a professional woman getting back out into the dating game, or a retired professional woman, in this case this woman is 52, so she's maybe worked quite a while in her adult years, and so there may be certain places that are more admittable to her finding the type of person, the type of man that she'd like to partner with, versus going with online dating. So definitely looking at this, I would say to a client, if this was my client, really assess what they want, what does that look like, how do they plan on approaching this, and being very clear with their boundaries and standards far before they actually begin interacting with a man or men. The second thing I would tell them is really steer clear of online dating, at least at first, until they got comfortable doing things again in person, because like I said, based upon their age and the era they grew up in, people meeting face to face was more the norm, was more common. Even if online dating came up and was maybe more of a norm in their young adult life, what they grew up in, they saw people meeting in person for things. So that is still a very important part for them to consider when engaging. Okay, now speaking for just me personally, this would have been an absolute no for me. My guess is the Redditor who posted this at 52, she's probably engaging with an age appropriate, and what I mean appropriate, I mean someone probably within 5 to 10 years of her age. So she's dealing with a full grown man that she's likely talking to. I highly doubt, not impossible, but I highly doubt that she is looking to engage in an air quotes cougar situation, meaning significantly older woman with a younger man between like 18 and 25. That's not the gist of what I was getting, just based upon the energy of this post. Saying that with that in mind, this is an absolute no for me. This is a grown man who is manipulating someone to try to get sex on a first date, when that's clearly doesn't sound like that was the trajectory or the way the conversation was even heading or leading to. So for him to think that is quite disgusting. This is somebody she needs to block and delete immediately. This man has some very manipulative behaviors, potentially predatory, but I don't want to project that on him, but definitely manipulative, because he's basically saying, oh, I only can dangle the carrot of a potential relationship in front of her only if she puts out or has sex with him. Once again, this is a grown man. This isn't some horny teenager saying this. This is a grown man, likely in his 40s or 50s himself. And the fact that he thinks this is okay is really disconcerting, very uncomfortable, but says a lot, screams a lot about his level or lack thereof of maturity, emotional, intellectual, spiritual, etc. It also shows that he's only interested in engaging with women for sex. That doesn't seem like what this Redditor is, like I said, interested in. She needs to cut her losses, cut him off, never speak to him again. And hopefully he will learn, if enough women who have standards and respect themselves do that to him, he will stop coming forward or coming at women with this trick, this manipulative tactic. Because someone who tries to manipulate you and you're just speaking to them through messaging on the dating app is likely someone who has other tendencies that are going to harm you in some way. It is a no for me, an absolute no for me. This guy is just really showing who he is up front. And as the Maya Angelou quote is, when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. And this guy that the Redditor is talking about, he's shown himself for who he is. He is someone who's only interested in sex. He is very insincere, and he's willing to manipulate a woman to get it. And that could be potentially very, very dangerous. So she needs to recognize that early, cut him off, and really reassess, honestly, what she wants when she's going online to these dating sites and using these apps, what she wants and what behavior is absolutely will not be tolerated. And this is some of that behavior. So those are just my insights from me personally, and definitely hope you enjoyed this. Chime in below with your comments and your thoughts about this particular Reddit thread. Thank you for joining me today for this edition of Relationships on Reddit. Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. In the comments, let me know some of the challenging or interesting dating situations that you have encountered in the past. Also, feel free to suggest other posts on Reddit that you would like me to include in this series. Thanks for tuning in today. This is Janelle, and I look forward to sharing some more posts with you next time. Check out my links below if you're interested in working with me for group coaching or one-on-one coaching.